Welcome back to the tutorial for Act 3, God Hard mode. And not too much in this chapter to be concerned with as far as difficulty. There's going to be one extremely difficult section in this act, but I found a really good exploit to make it really easy. So basically reducing it down to a part that'll take no skill to complete at all. So it'll basically be a free skip. I found a really good spot with some permanent cover in the tank section, which I'll explain that when I demonstrate that part. But yeah, this act took me the least amount of time of the three first acts so far. Act 1 took me... Well, Acts 1 and 2, they both took me about 5 hours each, total. And this act took me around 2 hours and 45 minutes. So I was definitely moving at a faster pace in this act. And then in Act 4, that had some parts that were possibly even harder, and I moved through that in about an hour and 15 minutes. I got near the end of Act 4. I'm still finishing that up now as I do this commentary. But I should have Act 4 up soon as well. So yeah, for this part, as usual, I'm going to recommend having the loadout that I have, because that's what my strategies are based around. But there is flexibility. You can always improvise, and if you have some weapons that you prefer to use instead, you can always do that, obviously. There's a lot of flexibility. You can always even come up with your own strategies or implement parts of my strategy and just adapt them to your playstyle. But for those who want to follow the guide, tightly, I would say try to keep the same loadout, which for me is I pretty much always have the laser cannon on hand because that's infinite ammo, and a rocket launcher, and then the third weapon is kind of optional for me. I usually like to have an anti-armor pistol, but there are acts that have very specific parts where I'll have either, for Act 2 on the hill it was the shotgun. That was the weapon that was really required for that hill sequence because I needed to shotgun 2 robots to get through that part in the way that I did it. It was very specific. And for Act 4, it's going to be the lock-on laser because you're really going to want to have that. And for other parts, too, the lock-on laser was useful, which I detailed. So sometimes that third weapon can really vary, and I would consider that third weapon like a requirement for certain parts to follow my strategies, obviously. But there's many ways to play the game. That's what's great about it. There's a lot of ways that you can go about tackling these sequences. That's why it's great to see a few different videos of this mode to really see different strategies, and it's really useful to check different videos and get find strategies that work for you. So yeah, not much to say about this part. Mainly you can hang back and just climb back up the ladders if you get overwhelmed, but you just want to wear these enemies down. There's a limited amount of enemies. Once you kill all the enemies, you will move on to the next checkpoint. So I would say, don't try to rush it unless you're, playing for score or something. But, if you're trying to just beat it, just stay in the back and take out the guys, take cover. And if you need to, just move back. You can go climb up the ladders and go back to the beginning of the stage. So that's why I wasn't really going into detail about this part. But yeah, I'm starting to move a lot faster now through the game as I think my skill is improving after I beat Acts 1 and 2. I think that was a good warm-up, and I'm starting to get in a better feel and flow of the game. I think that's why I probably got through Act 3 and 4 quicker. Because Act 4 has much, much tougher parts like the drill bots and other ridiculous shit than some of the other parts. So the hill on that second act is still one of the hardest parts for me playing this game again. That checkpoint probably took me the longest of any checkpoint so far. It was an hour and 40 minutes. The 3 drill bots ended up only taking me 8 minutes to beat, which I was surprised. But those are in Act 4. But yeah, so for this part, just take cover on the corner of this pillar right here. Those machine guns won't even be able to hit you if you stay right in that little corner where you see me standing. Aside from that, if it does get blown up, the pillar, take cover on this slim little piece of cover here. And just hang out for a little while. If you don't kill these guys, they'll just leave eventually. And then what you're going to do is you're going to focus on the snipers that appear, the green robots. You see me taking them out with the pistol here. Of course, headshots are going to be your fastest, your fastest way to take them out. But they'll die eventually if you shoot at them with the anti-armor pistol. I like that pistol because it's fast and the one shot does a lot of damage. If you sit there with a machine gun, you're at a higher risk the longer you're firing on them, because one of the other snipers will just pop you and they kill you in one hit. Since in this game, in God Hand mode or God Hard mode, snipers kill you in one hit. So, got to be careful about that. But it's easy. So with this, you're going to have your fight against 2 drill bots. And these guys can be very, very dangerous because they will burrow into the ground and then pop up right where your last location was. And they'll do massive damage. They can kill you in one hit if they hit you with a specific move. It's kind of like a grapple move, but it basically looks like they're drilling, doing a drill rush into you. I think it's that. I think that will kill you in one hit. But I know one of their moves does. But yeah, the basic idea is to just, the way I'm playing it, I use my stun grenades to stun them, obviously. And I was very limited in my weapons because I wasted up my rockets already. Like I said, the rocket launcher is great because 3 rockets nearly kills one of them. And if you can get some splash damage, you're hurting both of them with the rockets. So you're getting a lot of damage in if you have your rocket launcher. That's why I always recommend holding on to that. If you don't have that, you can farm the chest and probably get it if you keep suiciding and farming chests. That's how you get the loadout you want in this game. I've explained that. And I'm going to continue to explain that because, I know some people are just going to check sections of the tutorial. They're not going to watch the whole 5-hour playthrough. So I will go over points again and again. But yeah, if you want a loadout, just farm the chest, until you get what you want. And just commit suicide. When you die, you'll still have your weapons that you picked up. Just don't go to reload checkpoint because that doesn't work. But yeah, for them, the main thing I did, I like to fight them close and roll and counter their moves. Roll through their attacks and counter their moves and try to damage them up close. Obviously, if you had a shotgun instead of the anti-armor pistol, that might even be a better thing for close range fighting. The anti-armor pistol can be great if you're landing headshots on the drill bots, but if you're not doing headshots, the shotgun's probably going to do more damage. I would think. I don't use the shotgun that much. I should use it a lot more because it's a great close-range weapon, but I kind of got comfortable with my loadout. With the laser cannon and the rocket launcher, I was able to pull a lot of bullshit most of the time. And then my third weapon is kind of optional, but like I said, for some scenarios I'll have specific weapon, a specific third main weapon. But yeah, not much tips for that because if you have the rocket launcher, you're going to get 3 rockets in one of the drill bots and just about kill it. So focus on just one of them at first and try to get some splash damage if you can get them close together. And you can finish off that one drill bot after you've put 3 rockets into it. You can finish it off with an anti-armor pistol shots or whatever you have on hand. And then when there's only one left, it's pretty easy. You just don't let it pop up where you're standing. It doesn't really have any guns that it can fire at you, so you can just keep a distance from it and take cheap shots at it. Now for this, try to shoot the missile like you see me do here. That killed it instantly, or did massive damage to it. I don't think it killed it, but it nearly killed it. So if you can shoot the missile when it pops out, try to do that. I think it only takes 1 shot with just about any weapon to do that. So try to do it. And this part is very easy, just take some pop shots at these Romanovs, try to take them out. I finish off that one with a rocket because every time you get a new checkpoint, if you die at that checkpoint, you get all your ammo refilled. That's what's great about holding a rocket launcher all the time, is you'll always have 3 rockets at every checkpoint. And you can pull a lot of bullshit and really thin out a lot of the checkpoints by having 3 rockets for every checkpoint. And if some checkpoints you even get a rocket drop, then that's 6 rockets, so I think I had something like 9 rockets available on the Drillbot fight in the sniper pit on Act 4. Because I had my rockets and I think I got 2 rocket drops, but I kind of fucked it up and missed a bunch of shots with the rockets, which was, not very good playing. So yeah, this part is the brutal part I was talking about. It can be extremely difficult, but I have a trick here. What I recommend is immediately, boost to this area right here, behind one of the transports up the stairs. Now, the enemies don't seem to really pay much attention to this area. So what you can do now is you have a permanent piece of very high cover, so you're not going to have to worry about getting shot as long as you're behind it. And if enemies do want to get to you, they're going to have to channel through this narrow passage to get to you. And, of course, you're going to annihilate them when they try to do so. So, luckily I found this exploit. I'm guessing I may have also found this 9 years ago, but I can't remember because it was so long ago. But I beat this mode 9 years ago, but I don't remember a lot of the stuff that I did for specific, parts. But I don't remember this part giving me a lot of trouble, and I think that's probably because I probably found this trick back then, too. Because I would have remembered this shit, most likely. This is a very hard part if you don't do this. If you try to fight them in the center, it's an extremely aggressive part. You have to take out, I believe, 5 robots before you trigger the cutscene where the tank comes in. And you can do that pretty quick by rocketing. If you do use lock-on rockets on the transports as they're opening up, you can take out all the Gorgies in both of the transports immediately as they spawn, pretty much. And you'll get the tank cutscene immediately where the tank comes out. But I didn't do that here because I this was my first time finding this exploit, so I didn't even know I was going to find it when I rushed to this area. I just tried it. So I didn't have it planned out. I was just trying something, and it ended up working out. Once I got in this area, it was very easy. And I actually recommend saving the rockets anyway to take out the back of the tank. It's faster than trying to shoot at it with your, pellet shooters. I mean, the laser cannon does damage, but it doesn't last very long. The beam, and also if you get hit, of course, you have to retreat because it sucks out your AR energy, which keeps you alive. So the laser cannon can be limited. I mean, it does work because you can do this all day. You're safe. If you get hit, you just got to remember to flip out, back into this area and just wait. It's definitely a very exploitative way to play this part. That's usually the kind of shit that I'm pretty good at finding in games, exploits. So that's why my tutorials will probably have some interesting shit that you won't see in other tutorials, because I will end up looking for any ways I can to try to exploit the AI. And I tend to find those a lot. So yeah, the tank doesn't seem to drive in here. At least when I was playing this part, the tank never came into this area. If it does, if it did fully make it into this area, you could definitely have some problems. But it's not a big deal because now that you know this safe spot, you can just, if you die, just come back here again and try it again. The tank is eventually not going to drive into this area. If it does at all, I think it may not even be allowed to come in here, but I didn't test it for long enough. You see the tank is already dead, so it's easy. Just have your rocket launcher with your 3 rockets so that you can use that on the rear of the tank. Try to lock onto the rear of the tank where that red weak spot is, because when the rocket hits that, it does massive damage. And really, that's about it for this part. I mean, you're going to have to clean up all the robots, but you can take your time doing so. I mean, they're not going to be much of a threat. They seem to be all fucking around in the middle of the stage. So I never had any come in this area and try to approach me or anything, so... and if I did, they would have been wiped out. So, yeah, very easy. And after you beat this, you've just beaten the hardest part of the entire act. And you can see it's very easy with this trick. So really, this is not a hard act at all if you do this. But there's still definitely some parts that'll, as usual, will provide some challenge. There'll be some challenging parts, but it's not going to be anything for you at this point since you've made it this far. So yeah, there's only a few enemies left at this point. You can take them out at your own leisure. See, I died 34 times, so this was not something that I found quickly at all. It did take me a little while to... I tried fighting them in the middle for a while, but it wasn't going too well. I would have been playing it a lot longer if I had to, to do it that way. So yeah, here you can kind of just pick up whatever weapons you want. I pretty much recommend that trio of weapons that I have. But, that's just to apply the strategies I've been using. Some of these, you can swap out other long-range weapons if you want. The laser cannon is good, though, because if you have, like, a heavy machine gun instead of a laser cannon as your long-range weapon, the heavy machine gun does run out of ammo pretty quickly, as do all the machine guns. So, you're not going to be able to sit back there forever. Eventually, you're going to have to do ammo runs, which can get dangerous. I like the laser cannon because, it does use up your AR bar, but at least it has infinite ammo. So you can, if you find a safe spot, you can pull a lot of bullshit. And it has a massively long range. So it has a lot of advantages. Even though it does have the disadvantage of using up your AR bar and putting you at, more risk to get killed with lower health. But it's a pretty good balance. Sometimes I was actually suiciding on checkpoints just to get my rockets replenished. So sometimes some of my deaths will be from that. Or from just trying to grab weapons and die so that I have the loadout that I want. So there's some of that on some parts. I don't think I was really doing that at this point too much, but certain areas I do that. This is a very easy area. Just take out these red gorgies. Use whatever you want at this point. I was using the laser cannon initially, but then as my health got low, I like to switch to the anti-armor pistol and just go for the headshots. Take out this flying thing, because that's going to be the main nuisance. There are guys with rockets, but you're pretty safe behind this cover as long as you don't pop up in front of the rocket. The flying thing is probably the biggest threat because it's above you, so, I would say, take that out first. But yeah, the good thing about the anti-armor pistol, as you can see, is those headshots kill those things instantly. So if you can pop them off quickly, those headshots, you will get fast kills and be able to keep moving. So yeah, for this part, you're mostly going to be skipping the combat. So you want to try to dash through here. And you don't really want to be in that red critical mode by the time you get to this bus here. You want to be able to get through pretty cleanly. And then, just keep rolling because you're not going to have your boost meter full at this point probably. And use one of the rockets to take out this walking mech, walking machine. I like to kill that immediately. Now take cover behind this barrier and use your remaining 2 rockets, to splash damage these Romanovs together. And throw out all your grenades and your stun grenade and all that to keep them stunned and keep them in place. And then you can kind of just use your rockets to splash damage both of them. And that was pretty much it. That's a quick way to do that checkpoint. And once you've killed enough guys, I think mainly the Romanovs you have to kill, maybe the walking mech. But once you kill all that shit, the gate will open and just bust through. You don't have to kill the last guy if you don't want to. So yeah, this part, not too difficult. You're kind of going to just make a rush for it. And plant the bombs. I think I'm going to kill a few enemies in the beginning of this part, but yeah, not too many. Okay, actually, this is a different part. This is the monorail. I think this is a really irritating. Yeah, this is the irritating sniper sequence. Now, I got lucky this time, and I beat this section on my first try. But I remember in the past, failing this a decent amount of times and having to go through this slow-moving sequence a bunch of times. Very irritating sequence. It's just not good gameplay-wise. You know what I mean? It's very boring. So what you want to do here is get the sniper rifle. You have to use the sniper rifle because in this mission it's silenced. So grab one of the sniper rifles and use that. If you use any other weapon, you'll trigger the alarms and you can very easily fail the mission. So only use the sniper rifle. I actually used the wrong weapon at the end and triggered the alarm, but I was already so far out they couldn't do anything. So yeah, you're going to see these red circles on the spotlights that you need to take out, so just zoom in and take those out as they show up. This is an easy part, it's just very annoying because if you have a small fuck up, you have to redo everything, and it's just very tedious. But luckily I got it on the first try, so I didn't have to go through this slow-moving bullshit again. This is the worst section of the game to me. It's just not a fun section, you know. It's really the only bad part of the game. It's not that it's that bad, but compared to the rest of the game, it's just a boring, irritating part. So it's one of the weaknesses of a, incredibly good game. One of my favorites of all time. It's a great example of a game, not having to be long to be incredibly good. This is a pretty short game, but maybe about 5 hours long, or maybe on normal maybe even 4 and something. It depends how much you die, obviously, but let's say 6 hours, and it's a great game. So yeah, for that pilot, you're going to want to headshot him when you see the red circle come up. See that? Zoom in and go for a headshot. Now I don't know if I even got this shot. I think that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, it looks like it should have hit to me. I mean, it looks like I should have hit the head several times, but I don't know if I did. But I just continued, after he passed, I just continued shooting at the lights. Now I'm getting attacked by missiles here, so maybe that means that I didn't get the shot in. And I still see the transport driving around, so maybe I fucked it up. So, I'm not sure if they're always going to fire missiles at you like this, because like I said, I only tried this sequence one time. I beat it on my first try this time, so I don't know all the details. I don't remember everything from 9 years ago, but if it does start shooting missiles at you, shoot the missiles down and then snipe the thing that's shooting the missiles and take it out. It only takes one bullet to take that missile launcher out. And then take out the remaining lights. Now, you think you're in the clear here, and you almost are, but I think a few more spotlights appear near the end. So just be ready to snipe those. If you're not paying attention, you could miss it. I guess you could say that I used cheat codes in this instance because I used a code to unlock God Hard mode, if you would really consider that a cheat. I used a code to get the privilege to play the hardest mode in the game. I just didn't want to go through normal again because, normally you have to go through normal to unlock God Hard. And, I've beaten the game a bunch of times. So for this remastered version, I wanted to save myself the time and just learn the whole game over again on the hardest difficulty setting, which is, never really a good idea, but sometimes that's the way I like to do things. But it definitely caused me to sharpen up my skills pretty quickly, playing on God Hard. So yeah, this is the part I was thinking about when I started ranting about the bombs earlier. So this is that part. And actually, I don't end up blazing through here. I think I ended up taking my time initially and taking out some of the enemies, if I remember right. Now here I'm doing stupid shit like shooting the explosive barrels because I didn't know exactly what they wanted me to do. Then I finally realized that there was an opening on the monorail and I could leave. I just didn't see that initially, so I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do here? So yeah, so now that shit gets rolling, I do take out a few of the initial, enemies to clear a little bit of a space for myself. So I recommend doing that first, because there's a lot of fucking enemies to try to just rush through. You'll probably end up getting killed. So I would say thin it out a little bit. Get most of these assholes killed. And if you hang back here, it's obviously very easy. Just take your pistol shots when you can. If you're using laser cannon, try to use that. But laser cannon's a little harder to use here because, if you get shot, you have to wait for your AR bar to recharge. You can't use the laser cannon when you're flashing like that. So that's why I like having a pistol available as a secondary long-range weapon. That's one of the reasons I keep it on hand. Because, I can't always get those laser cannon shots in quick. I have to, wait around a lot for it to recharge. So up here, I don't think there's much going on up here. I just waste a rocket because this is a very easy section. So I get my rockets back at every checkpoint anyway since I carry that as a primary weapon. So I use a rocket on the turret for an easy kill, and it destroys the turret as well, which you're not going to need. And, mop up some of these loose enemies. And then you're just going to plant your final bomb, the second bomb, and then you can detonate it at the end of that corridor. But yeah, I recommend clearing most of this shit out because, if you boost to the end and you leave these guys lingering around, they can cause problems. Of course, these guys are dangerous when you take off their legs. They will sometimes try to crawl on their stomach and attack you and explode, so just be wary. They have quite a long crawling range. I'm not sure if this area has infinite respawns of enemies because I didn't spend a lot of time here, but I would say once you have it pretty clear on the left side here, if there's one or two guys, don't worry too much about it. But if you have it mostly clear, I'd say go down and plant your bombs and, go in there and just take out the remaining enemies if you need to. But you want to go all the way to the end of this corridor here and detonate the bomb. Now, I don't know if you need to go all the way to the end. I was just doing it to be safe. But I would just boost all the way to the end and then detonate the bomb so I don't get blown up. But, you may not even have to go that far away from the bridge to do that. Now, here I wasted another rocket just to save myself some time. I mean, I have 3 rockets left at this point. I must have got a refill of them or something because I know I used one. So, yeah, I just start wasting up my rockets because all I have to do now is get back into the train. Very easy segment, not hard. Just take your time. You play it patiently. It's another easy part. There's a boss fight coming up here, the buzzard, that's a little bit difficult. It took me some tries because I wasn't damaging him enough, and he would destroy the monorail. Because at one point he grabs onto the monorail, and once he does that, he can destroy the monorail very quickly. And if you don't have his health down low already, he'll just destroy the monorail. You won't be able to defeat him in time. So the goal here for this boss is to do as much damage in as short amount of time as you can. That's what you want to be doing. So I start off with the laser cannon. I try to hit that red glowing part. I think that does the most damage to him. But as long as you're all the way back here, his laser won't even reach you. And when he does his swarm of missiles, just take cover in the weapon rack here. If you just run into this weapon rack in this corner, he won't be able to hit you with his missiles or his machine gun fire. See right in this corner? Most of his attacks are very, very easy to dodge. The challenge here is just damaging him enough. That was the main challenge I had with this part, where it took me a number of tries because I wasn't getting enough damage. So you want to be aggressive with your damage output on him. The heavy machine gun was pretty decent for doing long-range damage, so I picked up one of those. I did not like the sniper rifle. I don't like the sniper rifle at all in this game. I find it very cumbersome to aim with. Most games I can snipe pretty quickly and pull off headshots fast, but in this, I find it disorienting. Every time I zoom in, I'm disoriented in this game. I don't know why. But, yeah, so it's not really... And it doesn't do a lot of damage, really, I find. So I found I was better off with the heavy machine gun and the laser cannon. And, of course, I saved my 3 rockets for when he grabs onto the ship because I want to do max damage. So, see, watch. When he latches on, that's when I pull out my rockets. And I'm doing a reload cancel trick where while the rocket is reloading... I was switching my weapons, and then I switch back to the rocket, and then the rocket is fully reloaded. It's a faster way to fire rockets, and I've mentioned it before, and I'll mention it again because I'll definitely be doing it again later on. But you want to do that here too because it'll give you'll get those 3 rockets in a lot faster if you do that, and that's going to help you because you want to take, like I said, you want to get as much damage in as possible on him before he takes over that, destroys that monorail. So yeah, basically save those 3 rockets and save all your grenades, including your stun grenades for when he grabs on. Then you can throw your stun grenades and your hand grenades and all your rockets when he's latched onto the ship, and just do as much damage as you can while he's floating around. And like I said, very easy to dodge his attacks using that weapon rack and staying far back his laser can't reach you. So there shouldn't be much of a problem with that. So now this part, just stay behind this vehicle here for a little while. And when you get a chance, you're going to want to rush up to the turrets up that slope. Use a stun grenade and just try to dash through if you can. I wasn't always able to pull this off because sometimes I'd get gunned down before I could get up. But as long as you can get up there, just snap into cover real fast on one of these barriers. You should get up here eventually. It's not too hard to get up here. You could also, of course, waste cigarettes if you want. And you can get them back by reloading at the title screen. But the cigarette will distract enemies, obviously. So yeah, you got to clear out these enemies first. And I think there's another wave that appears after I get off the turret. I think I had thought that I killed everything. So yeah, I leave the turret. I'm getting ready for the waves to come on this side, but they never show up because I had a few more enemies I had to clear out. But yeah, I mean, if you don't clear them out in time, the most they're going to do is waste your time, I think. Though after you clear out the ones on the back over here, once you clear out these enemies, you're going to have to protect the vehicles. As of now, I think you don't have to protect them at all, but now you're going to have to protect them. So all you have to do here is take out these vehicles quickly. So you want to be you want to be firing on them immediately when they show up. And the vehicles are going to be the main priority, not so much those small little red soldiers. I mean, you probably should kill them too, but you want to focus on the vehicles that come out. I finished these guys off with the laser cannon because the turret doesn't really reach. So yeah, now focus all your fire on these vehicles and try to hit that red stem. I think that does the most damage on these things. Since you can't shoot them in the back because they're not going to be showing their back to you. So take out that little stem, that turret, and then finish off the body of the tank. But yeah, the main thing here is just to be firing on them like very quickly as they appear. So you get used to where they're going to spawn at next. But it's easy. It took me a few tries, but it's not hard. If one of your turrets runs out of ammo, just switch to the other turret. Luckily, they don't overheat like they do in most other turret sequences in games. But they do run out of ammo. Sometimes your vehicle gets in the way of you trying to fire on these things, and it can be a little bit annoying. I believe you can lose a transport or two and still beat this part. It's pretty forgiving. It's not too hard. But if you get too sloppy with letting these things get through, you will lose. But after the tanks are taken care of, you're going to jump down automatically. The cutscene will play. So now this next part is very, very easy. All you're going to do is boost to the far end of the screen. Get the weapons you want from all these crates. Check the crates if you don't have the weapons that you want. But if you're uncertain of what to expect, then again, I would recommend just following my loadout because that ends up being, usually what ends up being used. Now, sometimes I do switch it by committing suicide, and of course I don't show that in the tutorial, but you'll just see me have different weapons since it's edited. But you're going to mostly notice that I have the same two main weapons, which is usually the rocket launcher and the laser cannon. Now, in this instance, I don't have the rocket launcher at this point because what I did was I reloaded the mission. I spent an extra 20 minutes on this mission because I reloaded it and replayed the first few segments because I knew I could do a better job at bypassing this part that's coming up after this. After you take out that little afterburner on the bottom, that's very easy to do. You just don't. You don't really. You can get hit by it. It doesn't really matter if it stomps down and damages you because it won't kill you. So it does. It's really not much to say, but just shoot up at it. And that's about it. But yeah, I spent an extra 20 minutes because I wanted to redo all these sections here. And, because I spent a long time fighting when I didn't need to. I had a long, drawn-out firefight on this exact checkpoint. And then I realized, you can skip this entire section. So I'll show you how I skipped it. It'll make it a lot easier. Because otherwise you have a big drawn-out fight where you have to destroy a bunch of turrets and a bunch of other shit. And a bunch of enemies. So yeah, I use my stun grenade and then I rocket these guys. I like to clear out this top area of enemies. You don't have to, but it makes it a lot easier to have this area safe. So yeah, a few use a stun grenade and then, empty out your rockets on these guys. The splash damage will fuck them up, and then finish off whatever's left with the anti-armor pistol. A headshot will do the trick. Then for these guys, use one of your stun grenades, and you can follow it up with a grenade if you land it right, but I missed. Or you can just, once you stun them, you can just clean them out with the anti-armor, or... Yeah, probably the anti-armor pistol is a good choice, because, the laser cannon is going to be hard to use here with all this, all the damage you would take. Wait for that to retract into the ship, and now start making your way down here. Use your stun grenades, and then now just... boost over to this small piece of cover here. And take cover right where you see me taking cover. And now just hang out here for a moment. And, the cutscene will play and you've beaten that checkpoint. Otherwise, you're going to have a long fight. It's really not a hard fight, but it takes long. It's very tedious. You have to take out all these guns and shit. I didn't want to have that the longer version in the tutorial because I thought it was way too drawn out. That having a firefight and not knowing what the fuck I was doing, so I decided I would spend an extra 20 minutes to replay those parts again. That's the first time that I redid anything in the tutorial. Normally, I'm just showing my playthrough and putting commentary over it about what I did, just showing what I actually did. But for that part, I decided it would be easy to refine that for the tutorial since I am making a tutorial out of it. Of course, if I wasn't capturing and I was playing it like I did years ago, I would just take whatever victory I got and just move on. Since there was no video of anything. But now it's cool to be able to make videos of this shit, so it motivates me to sometimes do parts over and get a better run. This part's very easy. You're just going to take cover at various walls, maybe take out a few of these guys, but there's really not much of a threat here. I beat this, the first time I played it. So, if an enemy causes you a problem, maybe, take it out next time when you respawn, but there's not much here. I believe at the end of this little trip that we're taking here, I believe there's a checkpoint right at the end. So what you can do is, and what I did was, I committed suicide at the checkpoint because I wanted to take out this next little boss really quickly. And with a rocket launcher, as you see, I did pick up a rocket launcher again. With that rocket launcher, I can make really quick work of the unknown, the little boss fight coming up in a moment. So I recommend, if you're still holding on to the rocket launcher, as I recommend, I would recommend committing suicide to make this fight much faster. Because then you'll have 3 rockets, you'll have all your stun grenades and hand grenades, and you can just beat the shit out of this guy. Plus, all my ammo was drained at this point, so I would have had to use the laser cannon or swap out one of my weapons, during the fight. So yeah, so here I committed suicide, and you're gonna see now it's edited. So now I have all my rockets back. So now once you have your rockets back, throw a stun grenade, lock on, use your rocket, throw another stun grenade, repeat. And he's mostly dead now, and then if you want, use another stun grenade, repeat for the 3rd rocket. And now I just throw out all my hand grenades to unload those, and now he's almost dead. So, that one little barrage can kill him almost instantly. I mean, not instantly, but before he has a chance to do any attacks, you can almost have him dead. Now I did end up having to finish off his remaining slivers of health with my anti-armor pistol, but if done right, you could probably, wipe him out. If I would have gotten maybe a melee attack at the end of all that, I probably would have killed him. So that might be something to consider. If you want to kill him all in one combo, it may be possible with that. I'm sure there's some interesting things you can do with the shotgun as well. If you have that, you may be able to do some crazy shit up close with that. But either way, very easy if you do that. It's not even a fight at that point. Now for this part, just for fun, I committed suicide again because I'm not worried about death count. So, and the reloads are really fast on the Xbox Series X on this remastered version. It's like 2 seconds to reload after you die. So anyway, what I did was I committed suicide here, so you're going to see another edit. And then I have all my rockets back. So obviously, you don't have to fight these guys when you have the rockets. You just shoot down at your feet here and do that twice, and you've wiped out that whole wave of enemies. So very, very quick way to end that sequence. Though if you've been carrying a rocket launcher around, you're probably not having any trouble with that part. But there are times like that where I would commit suicide to get my ammo back. So it is cool to be able to do that when you have the rocket launcher. Is a great one to replenish for a lot of the checkpoints. Though I admit most of the game didn't give me much trouble at all. Most of it was pretty easy for me, aside from a very few specific parts were potentially brutal. I actually ended up beating some of these parts a lot quicker than I expected my second time around 9 years later through this mode. I didn't expect to beat the drill bots with the sniper pit in 8 minutes. I thought that was going to take a long-ass time. So, yeah. Actually, like I said, the hill was the worst in Act 2. That gave me the most trouble so far in my second run-through. Now, you can skip those guys as you saw me do. Use your stunner. Not too complicated there. They give you several checkpoints throughout this area, so it's very easy. For this, I recommend using your rockets to take out this guy because he causes problems when you're trying to dash through the tunnel. He'll drain your dash meter, so you're going to be moving very slow, and of course you're going to get roasted by the beam. So just take him out first. Got stuck there for a moment. The dashing can sometimes be a little finicky. It's not always the best control. Though even the Xbox One Elite controller has these dead zones on the analogs, that's kind of annoying, but it's not as tight as a Sony controller, like a PS4 analog or something like that. One big disadvantage of the Xbox One controllers. I don't remember the 360 having as much of an issue with that, the Xbox 360. I originally beat this on Xbox 360 on God Hard. Though the other issue with the Elite controllers is that they have horrible fucking durability. I've been through several of them already. Luckily, I have to keep buying $40 Best Buy warranties to keep them alive. So yeah, now you're gonna be on after you've cleared out this little area. I think there was a few enemies. You're gonna be at another checkpoint here, and it's actually really easy. I didn't play it very very smartly. I was like right in the spawn zone. I think I beat this on my first try, so I didn't know what was coming up. Yeah, I beat this section on my first try, so I got lucky. So yeah, start off by using your rockets on these guys, or on the first robot. I mean, that's what I like to do. And if you can take out some robots with the rockets from the splash damage, do that too. Now these guys are going to spawn right on top of me, but I didn't know that they were going to spawn into thin air, really. I probably should have realized when I saw the electricity everywhere, but I decided I would stay in close and see what I could do. So yeah, I get grabbed here, and now I break out of it by wiggling the analog, and as soon as I did that, I kicked the guy into the pit, so it actually ended up working out. Because, normally that would take longer to have to fight him normally with no rockets or anything. So yeah, that made it a lot easier. You might be able to replicate that if you really wanted to, but I probably wouldn't risk it. Because there's a good chance that instead of grabbing you, he'll just do a one-hit kill move or something like that. So I don't know if it's easy to intentionally get grabbed. I've never tried to do that. But either way, if you need to, retreat back behind the crates and just take little cheap shots at them. Eventually you wear those guys down. If you're using the anti-armor pistol, you can take heads off of Romanovs, and then it'll be completely blind, and just throw out random attacks, and they can't target you at all because they don't know where you are. So you can always do that if you're having trouble. For this part, I just waste my 3 rockets because, again, I have rocket launcher as my main weapon that I'm using. So I immediately just fire a rocket at each one of those vehicles, or not really vehicles, but they're little containers that guys can hang out in, and they tend to congregate around those things. So I just put a rocket on each one, and it cleared that out very fast. Then you can just take the elevator up. And of course, like I said, if you have the rocket, you can always suicide and get 3 rockets for every checkpoint. So a lot of these easier checkpoints are going to be a joke with that. So yeah, you can kind of just hang out here, throw out some of your stun grenades, pick off the enemies with your basic weapons. Once you've cleared out all these red guys, then you can start moving in a little closer. I believe there's a Romanov moving around. So yeah, as you come in here, you see a bunch of enemies appearing. It actually looked like a Romanov suit, potentially. I wonder if you can ride in it and use it. I'm not even sure. Because I don't use vehicles in this mode because of how dangerous this mode is. I just prefer to use my regular weapons and take cover. Vehicles put you at a huge risk because there's animations with getting in and getting out of them. And you usually move slow in those riding vehicles, which I don't like. But yeah, you just have to fuck around there for a little while and take out some enemies, and eventually the elevator will be ready. Just get in the elevator and you can bypass all that. This is more of a cinematic part where it keeps showing you that there's shit falling around you. But there's nothing challenging here. So yeah, for this room, I go the method of skipping all the enemies again by throwing out the stun grenade and going straight to the elevator. Just make sure you hit X as soon as you hit the elevator, or the zip. I don't know what the fuck you would call that, but it takes you up or down, depending. So yeah, just hit X on those immediately and you'll go up very fast. If you're mashing X, it helps because you'll be hitting X immediately as you touch it. So for this part, I use 3 rockets. 1 at my feet to take out the enemies and 1 for each transport. And by doing that, it's completely clear. So now you can hit this console. So yeah, like I said, you get rockets so easily since there's a lot of checkpoints. So you can take out parts like this very easily and quickly. But yeah, 1 rocket for each transport, and then 1 near your feet for the Gorgies. So now you have a bunch of these assholes listening to some music or some shit. So just stun them and kill them. You will have to fight an unknown after this. It's another one of those unknown enemies that you fought. Now, if you used your rockets on that part, you're not going to have them for this fight. So that is something to consider. If you don't need them and you want to take out the transports normally, you can try just taking cover and taking them out normally with your regular weapons. But I found it to be kind of a pain in the ass. So I just preferred to use my rockets and then just deal with this fight when I got to it with just whatever weapons I had. I think I pick up some weapons on the field, maybe an LFE or something like that, but this is really not a hard fight regardless because this enemy doesn't have a lot of dangerous moves. So, either way, this is not going to be a difficult fight, really. If you've made it this far, I don't think this is going to give you too much trouble. But you're mainly going to be firing at that exposed bulb. There's some ways to get his armor off, like melee attacks. I find it better if you can get the melee attack on that bulb, it's good. But see, melees are always risky in this game because they leave you with no armor. But, on this guy, I didn't feel like it was too dangerous because there's so much, cover that you can get behind, and there's not a lot that he can really do if you're behind cover. So, I don't mind using my melee attacks sometimes on this guy. If you want to play it really safe, then just use guns on that bulb and grenades and shit like that. It gets a little dangerous here. He's getting pretty aggressive. But you can kind of just play ring around the rosy here by just going around in circles in the crate. And once your meter's charged up, you can use your laser cannon, which is not a great choice for this guy. If you're low on ammo and using your laser cannon, it's not going to be a great choice. I started, at this point, decided to just use melee attacks on him, so I was just waiting for it to charge so I could smack him around. That was my strategy at this point, because I found, it's effective enough. It didn't damage him that time. Sometimes it won't damage him, and I don't think it took his armor off either, so I don't know how that works. But anyway, I decided to pick up the LFE, and that actually worked well on him. It's slow, but it does good damage when it lands. So just pick up the LFE if you want and use that. That'll do a lot of damage. Makes the fight a lot easier. I just finished it off with a melee. I'm usually pretty resistant to picking up weapons on the field because I usually have the loadouts that I want. And, I don't want to risk losing my weapons. You can see, because now since I picked the LFE up, my weapon that I swapped it out with somehow disappeared. I think my pistol disappeared. So it always seems like there's a risk when you swap out weapons that, your weapon may end up disappearing for some reason. I don't know why that happens. So it did happen to me in this case, and I decided to just pick up the sniper rifle, even though I don't like it. But at least it offers a ranged option. So yeah, by this point you're at the end of the level. So now all you have to do is a little quick time event. And for this part all you have to do is just, you're going to want to take out one of the enemies. There's a transport, and you're going to want to at least take out one of them. And then you should have enough room to do the quick time event. I found out, I was trying to just do the quick time event without even killing anything, just to get it over with, but I kept getting interrupted. See? I go in and try to do it again, but it's I was pretty stubborn with that. But eventually I decided, you know what, fuck it, I'll just kill this guy. And I think after killing one transport unit, I think I had enough space. It's easier for me to usually burn them burn the actual guys driving and shooting than the actual unit itself, which takes a lot of damage to take down. Now, of course, if I would have reset, I could have got my rocket ammo back. Committed suicide, got my rocket ammo back. But this is a very easy part, so I didn't need to bother with all that. I should have Act 4 up soon. That's going to be a lot harder than this.